The slap echoed through the Riverside Civic Hall like a gunshot. 9 cameras caught everything: the swing, the impact, the stunned silence that followed. My cheek burned under the stage lights as hundreds of guests froze mid-applause. The Mid-State Design Award trophy trembled in my left hand while my right touched the rising welt. Security rushed forward, phones lifted to record, and in that moment of chaos, I did something unexpected. I looked directly into the nearest camera lens and whispered 2 words that would change everything. Thank you, because while everyone saw violence, I saw evidence. 9 angles of beautiful, undeniable evidence. My name is Addison Clark, and at 34 years old, I'd finally made it. Standing backstage at the Riverside Civic Hall, I smoothed down my emerald silk dress, the one I'd saved 3 months to buy specifically for this night. The Mid-State Design Awards represented everything I'd worked for since graduating from design school 12 years ago. As an interior architect at Kestrel Atelier, I'd poured my soul into the community housing design project that had earned me this recognition. Next up, the award for Community Housing Design Excellence. The MC's voice boomed through the speakers. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. Addison Clark, Kestrel Atelier. The applause washed over me as I walked onto the stage, my heels clicking against the polished floor. The trophy was heavier than I'd imagined, its crystal surface catching the stage lights and throwing rainbows across the audience. I'd just begun my acceptance speech when I saw my mother Marla and her husband Dale Whitaker pushing through the crowd toward the stage. That's our daughter. Marla's voice cut through my words. The pride in her tone might have fooled anyone who didn't know better. Dale's face was already flushed, whether from the open bar or anger. I couldn't tell. They climbed the side steps, ignoring the event coordinator's protests. My stomach dropped. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not now. We need to talk about the house, Dale growled, close enough that I could smell the bourbon on his breath. Your mother and I have been discussing it. Family helps family. Addison, that renovation you just finished, that's going to be Sloane's wedding gift. Sloane, my half-sister who'd never worked a day in her life, currently planning a wedding that cost more than my annual salary. This is neither the time nor the place, I said quietly, acutely aware of the 4 event cameras positioned around the hall, the phones already rising from the audience, the 2 CCTV cameras in the corners. The place, Dale's voice rose. The place is that house on Linden Street that you're hoarding while family struggles. I bought that house with my own money. Every mortgage payment, every renovation. The slap came without warning. Dale's palm connected with my cheek with such force that I stumbled backward, the trophy slipping from my hands and clattering across the stage. The crack of impact seemed to echo forever in the sudden, absolute silence that followed. My face burned, tears springing to my eyes not from emotion, but from pure physical reaction. Through the blur, I saw everything: the MC frozen mid-gesture, the security guards rushing forward, the horrified faces in the crowd, but most importantly, I saw the cameras, all 9 of them, based on my quick count. 4 professional event cameras, 3 phones clearly recording from the front row, and 2 CCTV units in the upper corners of the hall. Dale was already backing away, his face cycling through anger, shock, and the dawning realization of what he'd just done. Marla grabbed his arm, whispering frantically. Security reached them before they could flee, 1 guard already on his radio. I straightened slowly, my hand touching the burning welt on my cheek. Then, with deliberate calm, I turned to the nearest event camera, looked directly into its lens, and whispered clearly, "Thank you." The audience erupted gasps, murmurs, someone calling for police. The event coordinator rushed over with ice wrapped in a cloth napkin, but I wasn't thinking about the pain or the humiliation. I was thinking about evidence. 9 different angles of assault and battery, 9 separate pieces of proof that would stand up in any court. "Ma'am, we've called the police," the security guard said. "And an ambulance." "Good," I replied, loud enough for the phones still recording to pick up. "I'll need the incident report and copies of all footage from tonight. Every angle." As the EMTs arrived and the police began taking statements, I caught Dale's eye one last time. He thought he'd won something by putting me in my place publicly. He had no idea he'd just handed me everything I needed to take back what was mine permanently and legally. The bruise was already forming, dark and undeniable against my skin. Perfect. Every photograph would tell the same story. Every medical record would corroborate it. Tonight wasn't my humiliation. It was my foundation for everything that would come next. The house on Linden Street wasn't just property. It was proof that I could build something from nothing. I'd found it 12 years ago. A saggy-roofed disaster in Brookmont's Forgotten Edge, priced just low enough for a junior designer's savings to cover the down payment. While my peers spent their 20s at clubs and brunches, I spent mine stripping wallpaper, learning to tile, and watching YouTube videos about electrical work at 2 a.m. Every paycheck went into that house. The kitchen island with its waterfall quartz countertop, I'd designed it myself, then saved for 8 months to afford the stone. The master bedroom's dove-gray walls weren't just paint, they were Venetian plaster. I'd applied myself over 3 weekends, my arms aching, perfecting the technique until the surface looked like polished stone. The bathroom's skylight had required cutting through the roof, a terrifying project that took me 6 months to save for and 3 contractors to quote before I found one I could afford. But the crown jewel was the master bathroom's soaking tub, positioned perfectly beneath that skylight. I'd spent 2 years planning its placement, calculating sun angles so that morning light would hit the water just right. The first time I'd taken a bath there, watching clouds drift past through the glass above, I'd cried, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming proof that I could create something beautiful entirely on my own. Dale had moved in with my mother when I was 22, fresh out of college and working my first real job. He'd immediately designated himself the family's financial advisor, despite having declared bankruptcy twice. "Smart money stays in the family," he'd say, usually while asking to borrow $100 for gas. The real problem was Sloane. My half-sister arrived when I was 25, and from day one, she was the princess my mother had always wanted. Where I'd been told to figure it out yourself, Sloane got tutors. Where I'd worked 3 jobs through college, Sloane got a full ride from the bank of Mom and Dale. And now, at 24, she was marrying Trevor, a man whose greatest achievement was inheriting his father's car dealership. "Your sister deserves a proper start in life," my mother had said at dinner last month, the one I'd foolishly hosted in my newly renovated dining room. "This place is too big for one person anyway." "It's an 1,100-square-foot house, Mom." "Don't be selfish, Addison. Family helps family." That's when Dale had started exploring my home like he was shopping, running his hands along the custom shelving, checking the fixtures in the bathroom, even opening the electrical panel. "Good bones," he'd muttered. "Sloane will love the morning light in that master." "Sloane can love it from her own house," I'd said. Dale's face had darkened then, the same expression that preceded every explosion during my teenage years. But now I owned the roof over my head. I thought that meant something. "This conversation isn't over," he'd warned, jabbing a finger at me. "Your mother and I have been more than patient with your selfishness. Sloane's getting married. You're not even dating anyone. What do you need all this space for?" "My life," I'd suggested. The dinner ended with my mother's tears her favorite weapon and Dale storming out after knocking over a dining chair. Sloane hadn't said a word the entire time, just smiled that small, satisfied smile while texting on her phone, probably already pinning bathroom remodels on Pinterest. 2 weeks later, I came home to find them on my porch with a locksmith. "Lost keys," my mother explained cheerfully. "Sloane needed to measure for furniture." I sent the locksmith away and installed new deadbolts that night, but the message was clear they weren't asking anymore. They were taking. What they didn't understand was that 12 years of fighting for this house had taught me something valuable. I'd learned to document everything, every receipt, every permit, every inspection report. The filing cabinet in my home office contained the complete DNA of this property, the grant deed in my name alone, mortgage statements showing every payment from my bank account, receipts for every improvement, even photos tracking the transformation from ruin to refuge. They thought family bonds would trump legal boundaries. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. The soft invasion started 3 weeks after that dinner. I came home from a client meeting to find Sloane's BMW in my driveway. Trevor's pickup truck parked on my lawn, my carefully maintained Kentucky bluegrass now bearing deep tire tracks. "Oh, good, you're home," Sloane chirped from my porch, holding up a key. "Mom gave me the spare from when you were younger. We've just been moving a few boxes into the garage. Wedding gifts, you know. No room at Mom's place. The spare from when I was younger, from a different house, in a different city, with completely different locks. Yet, somehow, mysteriously, it worked on my door." "That's impossible," I said. "I changed these locks 2 weeks ago." Sloane's smile didn't waver. "Must be fate then, Trevor. Honey, can you grab that last box?" Inside, the violations were small but deliberate. My copper cookware set a graduation gift to myself showed new scratches across the pristine bottoms. Someone had used metal utensils on my non-stick pans. The Sonos speaker in the living room was blaring country music at volume level 18. My monthly electricity bill, usually around $90, would hit $240 that month. They'd changed the lock on the master bedroom. "Oh, that," Sloane said when I stood speechless before my own bedroom door. "Trevor's paranoid about his golf clubs. They're very expensive. We needed somewhere secure to store them. In my bedroom. Just temporarily, don't be dramatic. Addie." Only my mother and Sloane called me Addie, a diminutive I'd specifically asked them to stop using when I turned 30. That night, I slept on my own couch while Trevor's snoring echoed from my master suite. At 3:15 a.m., I heard them going through my closet. At 5:45 a.m., my shower started running. By 6:30 a.m., they were gone, leaving wet towels on my heated bathroom floor and an empty coffee pot with grounds scattered across my quartz countertop. The next 2 weeks became a careful dance of documentation. I installed a hidden camera in the living room, completely legal in Ohio for your own home. I photographed every new scratch, every moved item, every piece of mail they'd opened, the scratches on my dining table from Sloane's keys, the red wine stain on my cream area rug from one of their quick visits while I was at work, the missing bottle of champagne I'd been saving for my eventual promotion. The day I found them hosting a dinner party in my home was the breaking point. 8 strangers eating off my grandmother's china, Trevor holding court in my living room like he owned it. "Family dinner," my mother announced when I walked in. "Doesn't Sloane look perfect at the head of the table?" I took photos of everything, the strangers, the mess. Trevor's work boots propped on my coffee table. The locksmith's business card casually left on my kitchen counter, a threat disguised as forgetfulness. But I didn't explode. I didn't even argue. Instead, I excused myself to the bathroom and called Naomi Park. I'd met Naomi at a networking event 2 years prior. She specialized in property law at Park and Harlan LLP, and she'd mentioned once that family disputes over real estate were her specialty. "People think blood means more than paperwork," she'd said. "They're always wrong." "Can you meet me tomorrow?" I asked quietly, listening to laughter from my own dining room where I wasn't welcome. "Bring everything," Naomi said. "Every document, every photo, every text message, and Addison stop sleeping there. Give them enough rope to hang themselves, to weave a beautiful legal noose." That night, I packed a bag while Sloane and Trevor slow danced in my living room. Their guests departed. My mother washing dishes like this was her kitchen. Trevor saw my suitcase and smirked. "Finally coming to your senses?" he asked. "Something like that," I replied. As I left, I made sure the hidden camera had a clear view of the living room. I'd already backed up the previous 2 weeks of footage to the cloud. Every entitled moment, every casual destruction of my property, every admission that they were taking what wasn't theirs. They thought my leaving was surrender. Really, it was strategy. Every extra day they spent in my house was another charge to add to the filing: trespassing, vandalism, breaking and entering, theft. The list grew longer with each passing hour. My phone buzzed with a text from Sloan. "Thanks for finally being reasonable. Sis. Mom's right, I deserve this." I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Naomi. Evidence file number 47. Naomi Park's office occupied the 17th floor of the Meridian building, all glass and steel efficiency. She reviewed my documents with the focus of a surgeon, occasionally making notes on her legal pad in handwriting so precise it could have been font. "Your grant deed is bulletproof," she said, holding up the document. "Sole ownership, your name only. The mortgage statements show 12 years of payments from your personal accounts. No co-signers, no community property claims. This house is yours alone." They don't seem to understand that. They will. Naomi pulled up the footage from my hidden camera on her laptop. We watched Sloan trying on my clothes, Trevor drinking directly from my orange juice container, Dale kicking my coffee table when he couldn't figure out my TV remote. This is gold, but we need more. More. Ohio's trespassing laws require clear establishment that they knew they weren't welcome. The text from Sloan helps, but a recorded conversation would be better. "Can you handle wearing a wire? Ohio's a one-party consent state for recording?" Naomi smiled. "You've done your homework?" "Yes. As long as you're part of the conversation, you can record freely." She laid out the strategy like a chess master planning checkmate. "First, we document everything, every scratch, every stolen item, every utility bill, take photos with timestamps, save every text, every voicemail. Second, we're going to file for an emergency protective order based on Dale's assault at the award ceremony. That's already documented. 9 different angles, plus medical records from the ER visit, plus the police report. The venue sent over their footage this morning. Clear as day." She pulled up a video on her screen. Dale's hand connecting with my face. The sound crisp and undeniable. "This is assault and battery, captured in high definition. But here's the beauty: we're going to bundle it with a temporary restraining order that includes exclusive possession of your property. They have to leave within hours of service, and if they violate it, it's criminal contempt." Over the next 3 days, I became a detective in my own life. I returned to the house at strategic times, always recording. The conversation I captured on Tuesday at 2:15 p.m. was particularly damning. "This is still my house." "Dale," I said calmly as he lounged on my sofa. "Not for long," he replied. "Your mother's already talked to a lawyer about tenant rights. We've been here 3 weeks. In Ohio, that makes us residents." "That's not how it works." "We'll see what a judge says. Besides, you hit me first." "What?" "That's what I'll say. Who are they going to believe, a respected family man or a bitter spinster who can't stand to see her sister happy?" I kept my face neutral, but inside I was celebrating. He'd just admitted to planning perjury, all crystal clear on my phone's recording app. The paper trail grew thicker. Receipts from the garbage showed they'd thrown a party with 40 guests. My neighbor confirmed the noise complaint she'd filed. The locksmith they'd hired had actually kept records showing Dale's name on the work order for my bedroom door. They'd had my mail forwarded to my mother's address, a federal offense I documented with USPS. "Your case is unusual," Naomi said during our final preparation meeting. "Most family property disputes involve inherited homes or divorce. This is pure theft, dressed up as family obligation." She showed me the filing we'd submit: 43 pages of documentation, 112 pieces of evidence, 15 different violations of state and federal law. "The criminal assault gives us urgency," she explained. "Judges fast-track protective orders involving violence. And once we have that, the property possession order follows naturally. After all, how can you be safe if your attacker has access to your home? What about their claim that family should help family?" Naomi laughed, short and sharp. "Legally meaningless, morally manipulative, But the law doesn't care about guilt trips. It cares about ownership, and every single document says you own that house. We organized everything into labeled folders: the grant deed, the mortgage statements, the renovation receipts totaling $87,000 over 12 years, the utility bills in my name, the insurance policies, the property tax payments, the footage, the recordings, the photographs, the text messages, the emails where my mother admitted she just wanted Sloan to have what Addison built. "This is overwhelming force," Naomi said, surveying the mountain of evidence. "We're not just going to win. We're going to obliterate them. I don't want to destroy my family." "They've already done that. You're just controlling the cleanup." She was right. The family who'd taken me in had been replaced by entitled strangers who saw my success as their opportunity. The mother who'd raised me had chosen her new family over her first daughter. They'd crossed every line, broken every boundary, and they'd done it with smiles on their faces. "When do we file? Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp? But first, you have an award ceremony to attend." The Riverside Civic Hall's security office was smaller than I'd expected, crammed with monitors showing feeds from every corner of the venue. The head of security, Marcus Williams, had called me in the morning after the assault. "Ms. Clark, we take incidents at our events very seriously," he said, pulling up multiple screens. "We have everything from last night, every angle, every second." The main event camera had captured Dale's approach in stunning 4K resolution. His face was contorted with rage, spittle flying as he screamed. The audio was crystal clear. "You selfish little bitch! This isn't over! That house is Sloan's! You hear me? Not yours anymore!" Then the slap. The sound ricocheted through the speakers, making Marcus wince. "That's angle 1, he said. "Here's angle 2. The side camera showed the force of the impact, my head snapping to the side, my body stumbling backward. The trophy fell in slow motion, shattering into 3 pieces on the stage. "Angle 3. This one caught Dale's face perfectly the moment of satisfaction right after contact, before reality set in. That split second of pleasure at putting me in my place. The CCTV footage. Marcus pulled up 2 more feeds. These showed the wider scene, my mother grabbing Dale's arm, not to stop him, but to pull him away from the approaching security. Sloan in the audience, her phone up and recording, a small smile on her face. "Your sister posted her video to Instagram," Marcus said quietly. "She's since deleted it, but—" "You saved it. Our legal team archives everything that happens at our events. Liability reasons." He handed me a USB drive. "Every angle we have, plus 3 videos from audience members who came forward, and screenshots of your sister's social media posts." The Instagram story Sloan had posted was captioned, "When keeping it real goes right. Family drama. She had it coming." Additionally, Marcus continued, the event photographer was shooting during the incident. He opened a folder of high-resolution images. Dale's hand mid-swing, my face at the moment of impact, the red handprint blooming across my cheek, the shocked faces in the crowd. Kenneth's a professional. He documents everything. One photo made me pause. It was taken seconds after the slap. I was standing straight, my hand on my cheek, looking directly at Dale with an expression of calculation, not fear, not anger. Pure, cold calculation. "You took it well," Marcus observed. "Most people would have fought back or broken down." "I had 9 cameras on me. Fighting back would have muddied the waters." "Smart. The police mentioned you asked for documentation immediately." "Can you provide witness statements?" "Already done." He handed me a folder. 14 people came forward, including Judge Patricia Hernandez. She was receiving an award that night, too. Her statement is particularly detailed. I read Judge Hernandez's statement. The assault was unprovoked and violent. Mr. Whitaker showed clear intent to intimidate and harm. Ms. Clark's composure under such circumstances was remarkable. This was unquestionably criminal battery. "There's more," Marcus said. The MC was still wearing his hot mic. It caught everything Dale said before going on stage. He played the audio. Dale's voice, slurred with alcohol. Time to remind that ungrateful brat who's really in charge. Marla, watch how a real man handles this. A real man, I repeated. The bathroom cameras, they're only in the hallways for privacy, caught him doing cocaine about 40 minutes before the incident. We've turned that footage over to the police as well. The evidence was overwhelming. But Naomi wanted one more thing. We need the incident report from the venue, she'd said. Marcus pulled up the report on his screen. Would you like me to read it? Please. At approximately 9:43 p.m., during the award presentation for Ms. Addison Clark, an adult male identified as Dale Whitaker approached the stage aggressively. Mr. Whitaker was observed to be intoxicated and belligerent. Without provocation, Mr. Whitaker struck Ms. Clark across the face with an open hand, causing Ms. Clark to stumble and drop her award trophy, which shattered. Security intervened at 9:44 p.m. Mr. Whitaker resisted briefly before being restrained. Police arrived at 9:52 p.m. Medical services arrived at 9:55 p.m. Ms. Clark was examined and photographed for injuries. Mr. Whitaker was arrested at 10:07 p.m. Can I get a certified copy? Already prepared. Marcus handed me an envelope with the venue's official seal. Ms. Clark, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen a lot of family disputes at events. But this was something else. The premeditation, the public nature, the complete lack of remorse. Your stepfather wanted to humiliate you. He succeeded. Did he? Because from where I'm sitting, he gave you 9 different angles of evidence for assault charges. That's not humiliation. That's ammunition. As I left the security office with my USB drive and documents, my phone buzzed. A text from Dale, violating the no-contact order from his bail conditions. Drop the charges or lose the house. Your choice. I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Naomi. She responded immediately. Beautiful. He just added witness intimidation to the list. Keep them coming. The medical records from that night were equally thorough. Photographs of the bruising from multiple angles. The doctor's notes describing the contusion, the swelling, the burst blood vessels creating a perfect outline of Dale's hand. The psychological evaluation noting acute stress response to physical assault and recommending therapy. Every document was another nail. Every photograph another brick in the wall I was building between them and my home. They thought that slap would break me. Instead, it had given me everything I needed. Monday morning, 9:05 a.m. Naomi filed our paperwork at the Montgomery County Courthouse. By noon, the emergency protective order was granted. By 2 p.m., we had the temporary restraining order with exclusive possession rights. The judge had watched exactly 30 seconds of the assault footage before signing. This is clear-cut, Judge Morrison had said. The violence is documented, the threat is ongoing based on these text messages, and the property ownership is undisputed. Order granted. The real satisfaction came at 4:30 p.m. when the process server knocked on my own front door. I watched from my car parked across the street. Perfectly legal since I was more than 500 feet away. Sloane answered in my silk robe, the one from Nordstrom I'd saved for 3 months to buy. Her face went from annoyed to confused to panicked as she read the papers. "Dale!" she screamed. "Dale!" He came storming out, shirtless, my premium coffee mug in his hand. The process server was already walking away, his job done. Dale chased after him. "What the hell is this? You can't evict us. We have rights." The process server didn't even turn around. Dale threw my mug at his car. It shattered against the bumper. I made sure to photograph the pieces. By evening, the story had evolved. The Heartland Design Guild, which had sponsored the award ceremony, released a statement. The Heartland Design Guild condemns in the strongest possible terms the act of violence that occurred at our annual awards ceremony. We stand fully behind Ms. Addison Clark and have permanently banned Mr. Dale Whitaker from all future events. Additionally, We are reviewing our security protocols to ensure the safety of all attendees. Dale's employer, Whitaker Construction? Yes, he'd named his barely functional contracting business after himself. Lost 3 major clients by Tuesday. Apparently, assaulting an award-winning designer at a public event wasn't good for business relations. But the real blow came from an unexpected source. Trevor's father, who owned the car dealership, called off the wedding. "I won't have my family name associated with this circus," he told Trevor, according to the voicemail Sloan accidentally left on my phone while rage dialing. "The whole city saw what happened. Judge Hernandez is my golf partner, for Christ's sake. She told me everything." Wednesday brought the civil filing. Naomi had added charges I hadn't even considered: conversion of property, trespass, intentional infliction of emotional distress, defamation Sloan's Instagram posts, and conspiracy to commit fraud based on Dale's recorded admission about lying to a judge. "We're asking for damages," Naomi explained. "The house's value, renovation costs, lost wages from time dealing with this, medical bills, therapy costs, and punitive damages for the assault." "How much total?" $450,000. "They don't have that." "Then they'll have liens against them for the rest of their lives. Every tax refund, every inheritance, every lottery ticket will be waiting." The story hit the local news Thursday night. Award night assault, local designer attacked by family. They pixelated Dale's face, but everyone who was there knew who it was. The footage they showed was brutal. The slap, played in slow motion, looked even worse on television. My phone exploded with support. Clients, colleagues, even competitors reached out. 3 new clients hired me that week alone, specifically citing their admiration for how I'd handled the situation. Friday morning brought the best gift security footage from my hidden camera showing Sloan and Trevor hosting a party the night after receiving the restraining order. 43 people in my home, underage drinking, property damage to my hardwood floors from someone's stiletto heels, and the cherry on top, Trevor selling cocaine in my kitchen. "This violates the restraining order," Naomi said, watching the footage. "They were supposed to vacate within 24 hours. Instead, they threw a party. This is criminal contempt. And the drugs? That's a felony. In your home?" Which gives us grounds for an emergency hearing. She filed additional charges that afternoon. Criminal contempt, violation of protective order, possession with intent to distribute, contributing to delinquency of minors, several party guests were clearly underage, and destruction of property. My mother finally called Saturday morning, not to apologize but to negotiate. "Addison, this has gone too far," she said, her voice carefully modulated. "Drop the charges and we'll leave the house. You're already legally required to leave the house. You're destroying your family over property." "No, Mom. Dale destroyed our family when he hit me. You destroyed it when you stood there and let him. Sloan destroyed it when she posted it online like entertainment. I'm just handling the paperwork. We could lose everything. You already lost everything when you chose them over me." I recorded the call. Naturally. Her admission that they were still in the house, violating the restraining order, was particularly useful. The media attention intensified over the weekend. Someone leaked the Instagram story Sloan had posted. She had it. Coming became a rallying cry, but not the way she'd intended. The local news ran a segment on family violence and property theft, featuring my case as the centerpiece. The president of Kestrel Atelier, my firm, called personally. "Addison, we're behind you completely. And between you and me, that award night footage, it shows exactly the kind of composure we value. You're getting promoted to senior interior architect. The announcement goes out Monday." By Sunday night, Dale, Marla, and Sloan were facing criminal assault charges, criminal contempt charges, multiple restraining order violations, drug possession and distribution charges, property damage exceeding $25,000, civil lawsuits for damages, and Trevor was facing separate federal charges for the mail forwarding fraud. But they still hadn't left my house. The courtroom at Montgomery County Superior Court was smaller than I'd expected. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. sharp. Judge Patricia Hernandez presiding, the same judge who'd witnessed the assault at the award ceremony. Dale's lawyer immediately moved for recusal. Your Honor witnessed the alleged incident. Counselor, Judge Hernandez interrupted. I witnessed a criminal assault. There's nothing alleged about it. However, to maintain absolute impartiality, I'll recuse myself. She looked directly at Dale. Judge Cartwright will hear your case. He's known for his strict interpretation of property law. Good luck. Judge Cartwright, a 70-year-old former prosecutor, reviewed the evidence with methodical precision. First, the grant deed. Then the mortgage statements, 144 consecutive payments from my checking account. The renovation receipts, organized chronologically. The property tax records. The insurance policies. This is remarkably clear ownership, he stated. Is the defense disputing any of these documents? Dale's lawyer, a public defender who looked exhausted, shuffled his papers. My clients assert that promises were made, verbal promises. Yes, Your Honor. Regarding real property. Yes. Judge Cartwright removed his glasses. Counselor, surely you're aware of the statute of frauds. Real property transfers require written documentation. Verbal promises are legally meaningless. My clients have been residing in the property, according to this hidden camera footage, for exactly 23 days. While the legal owner was forced to stay elsewhere. That's not tenancy. Counselor, that's trespassing. Naomi stood. Your Honor, if I may present the assault footage, proceed. The courtroom fell silent as 9 different angles of Dale hitting me played on the monitor. The court reporter actually gasped at the sound of impact. Judge Cartwright watched twice, his expression hardening. Mr. Whitaker, he said directly to Dale, you assaulted Ms. Clark at a public event, in front of hundreds of witnesses and multiple cameras. She provoked. According to this audio, you said, time to remind that ungrateful brat who's really in charge. That's premeditation. Mr. Whitaker. Naomi presented the rest methodically. The locksmith receipt in Dale's name. The cocaine footage from my kitchen. The Instagram posts. The text messages threatening worse if I didn't fall in line. The voicemail where my mother admitted they just wanted what Addison built for Sloan. Your Honor, Naomi said, we have one final piece of evidence, a recorded conversation where Mr. Whitaker admits he would lie to a judge about Ms. Clark hitting him first. The recording played. Dale's voice filled the courtroom. Who are they going to believe, a respected family man or a bitter spinster who can't stand to see her sister happy? Judge Cartwright's face turned red. Mr. Whitaker, you just admitted to planning perjury in my courtroom. That was taken out of context. The context is crystal clear. You planned to lie under oath. Sloan suddenly stood. This isn't fair. She has everything, the house, the career, the awards. All we wanted was something that wasn't yours. Judge Cartwright finished. Sit down. Ms. Whitaker. My name is Sloan Harrison. According to these documents, you've been using your stepfather's name on legal documents related to this property, including this fraudulent attempt to change the utilities. He held up the water bill transfer form. That's identity fraud, Ms. Harrison. My mother finally spoke, her voice shaking. Your Honor, I'm her mother. Surely family. Family what? Mrs. Whitaker. Family gets to steal. Family gets to assault. Family gets to commit fraud. Judge Cartwright's voice rose. I've reviewed everything. The ownership is clear. The assault is documented. The trespassing is ongoing. They're still in the house despite a restraining order. The property damage is extensive. The drug activity is recorded. He turned to the bailiff. Contact the sheriff's department. I want deputies at that property within the hour. Your Honor? Dale's lawyer tried. My clients need time to gather their belongings. Your clients have had a week since being served. They chose to throw a party instead. They chose to continue damaging property. They chose to violate a protective order. He signed the order with sharp strokes. They have 60 minutes from when deputies arrive. Whatever isn't out goes to the curb. But Furthermore, Judge Cartwright continued, the emergency protective order and temporary restraining order are now permanent. 500 feet minimum distance. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. The criminal charges for assault, battery, and contempt will be prosecuted separately. The drug charges have been referred to the DEA given the interstate nature of Mr. Trevor's supplier network. According to this police report, he looked at me for the first time. Ms. Clark, you have grounds for significant civil damages. I suggest you pursue them vigorously. Then, to Dale, Marla, and Sloan, you three conspired to steal a home through intimidation, violence, and fraud. You've destroyed your family relationships for property that was never yours and never would be. You've committed crimes that will follow you forever. Mr. Whitaker, you're a convicted felon once this assault case concludes, and it will conclude with conviction given this evidence. Ms. Harrison, you're facing identity fraud charges. Mrs. Whitaker, you're an accomplice to all of it. He banged his gavel. Order granted in full. Deputies will escort the defendants to retrieve their belongings under supervision. Any damage, any theft, any violation will result in immediate arrest. Court dismissed. As we left the courtroom, Dale couldn't resist one last threat. You're dead to us, Addison. Dead. I know, I replied calmly. I've been dead to you since the moment I succeeded without your permission. Naomi checked her phone. The deputies are already at your house. Shall we go supervise? The convoy arrived at my house on Linden Street at 11:45 a.m. 2 sheriff's deputies, Naomi and me. From the street, I could see garbage bags piled on my porch, my kitchen window still open with music blaring, and Trevor's truck parked across my garden bed, crushing my hostas. Deputy Rodriguez knocked firmly. Sheriff's Department, you have 60 minutes to vacate per court order. Sloan answered in my silk pajamas, the ones from my honeymoon trip to Paris that I'd never even worn. Her makeup was smeared, last night's party still evident in the empty bottles visible through the doorway. This is harassment, she screeched, then saw me standing by the patrol car. You did this. 59 minutes, Deputy Rodriguez said calmly. What followed was chaos. Dale emerged, stumbling, clearly hungover, dragging garbage bags of their belongings while screaming threats. You'll regret this. Addison, I'll make sure you never— Sir, that's a violation of the protective order. Deputy Chen interrupted. One more threat and you're under arrest. My mother sat on my porch steps, crying theatrically. How could you do this to your family? I didn't answer. Instead, I documented everything. The tire tracks through my garden, the broken fence panel where Trevor had backed into it, the pile of cigarette butts by my door. I didn't smoke. Through the window, I could see red wine stains on my cream carpet, deeper now than before. Trevor appeared, arms full of golf clubs, the expensive ones he'd stored in my master bedroom. He loaded them into his truck, then went back for more. Each trip, he glared at me. On his fourth trip, Deputy Rodriguez followed him inside. Why are there drugs on the kitchen counter? The deputy's voice carried outside. Those aren't mine, Trevor shouted. Whose house is this? Hers. And who's been living here? Silence. Then the sound of handcuffs clicking. Trevor was brought out in custody, the drugs bagged as evidence. Sloan became hysterical. That's my fiancé. We're getting married. Not anymore, Dale muttered, dragging another garbage bag. Inside, I glimpsed my towels, my sheets, my coffee maker. Deputy Chen made him open it. Those belong to the homeowner, I said calmly, showing the receipts on my phone. Everything went back inside. At 12:30 p.m., Dale made one last attempt to enter the master bedroom. I heard him kicking the door he'd installed his own lock on. The bitter irony, locked out of a room in my house by his own lock. Time's up, Deputy Rodriguez announced at 12:45 p. They weren't finished. Half their belongings were still scattered throughout my house, but the deputies began escorting them out. Dale tried to grab my grandmother's china from the dining room. That's mine, I said sharply. Prove it. I pulled up the photo on my phone me at age 16 with my grandmother, the china displayed behind us at her house. Inherited when she died in 2014, here's the will. The china stayed. As they were herded to their cars, Sloan and Dale's truck since Trevor's was now evidence, my mother turned back one last time. I hope you're happy alone in that house, she said, because you will be, forever. No one will ever love someone as cold as you. I'd rather be alone in my own home than surrounded by thieves in someone else's. Dale peeled out, intentionally running over my mailbox. Deputy Chen photographed the damage. That's destruction of federal property. The Postal Service doesn't play. After they left, I stood in my doorway surveying the damage. Cigarette burns on my hardwood floors. Scratches on every surface. The smell of strangers in every room. My sanctuary had been violated in every possible way, but it was mine again. Naomi helped me change the locks, all of them. We installed new deadbolts, reinforced strike plates, and a security system with cameras covering every angle. As the locksmith worked, I walked through each room, documenting the damage for insurance and the civil suit. The master bedroom was the worst. They'd gone through everything. My jewelry box was empty, another theft charge to add. My clothes were stretched out, stained, some missing. The bathroom mirror had lipstick writing Sloane's room. I took a photo, then cleaned it off with Windex. At 3 p.m., I stood in my kitchen, alone for the first time in weeks. The silence was profound. No music blaring, no strangers laughing, no family claiming what wasn't theirs. Just me and the afternoon sun streaming through windows I'd personally installed. I pulled out the legal folder and placed it on my grandmother's china cabinet. The grant deed, the restraining orders, the court orders, the arrest warrants. Paper had beaten blood. Documentation had defeated drama. The law had proven stronger than misplaced loyalty. That night, I took a bath in my master bathroom tub, under the skylight I'd saved for 2 years to install. The moon was full, casting silver light across the water. My cheek no longer hurt, though the bruise had turned purple-green. In 2 weeks, it would be gone, but the legal documents would last forever. Dale was facing 3 to 5 years for assault with priors. Trevor was looking at federal distribution charges. Sloan had identity fraud hanging over her head. My mother had lost her reputation, her social standing, and her eldest daughter. They'd gambled everything on the assumption that family meant permission to take what they wanted. They'd lost. I reached over to my phone and opened my banking app. The promotion Kestrel Atelier had announced came with a 40% raise. Next month, I'd start renovating the basement, maybe add a home office, definitely install better security cameras. The house was quiet. The house was mine. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt no guilt about either of those facts. The locks turned with a satisfying click. Every door, every window, every entrance to my life now firmly under my control. In the morning, there would be insurance claims and civil suits and probably more tears from my mother on social media. But tonight, in my house, in my tub, under my skylight, I owned every square inch of the space around me, and that was everything. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm curious to know where in the world you're listening from. Please share in the comments below so we can connect. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know your perspective. I love reading your insights and experiences.